a falling star. Can you make a wish? Ooh, just remember, luck is no such thing. One man succeeds while another man fails. Why is it then, you ask, the stars up above, the planets of light, who controls your very soul? From the beginning of earth and throughout eternity, that's the stars up above. Just ask them. Ooh, just ask them. The planets of light, who controls your very soul?
Coming to you live from New York City and streaming on the World Wide Web. Welcome to Astrology, Numerology Now for Monday, August 9th, 2010. I'm your host, Z Starman. We're broadcasting live, and I would like to welcome to the show the special, well, this is a special edition of Astrology, Numerology Now, and I have as my special guest, as we say growing up in New York City, the number man. The number man, the great Lloyd Strayhorn. Lloyd, welcome to Astrology, Numerology Now.
Thank you. And you know, it's interesting because some of the number runners do call me the numbers man, but it's not for those kind of numbers, though.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about. Lloyd, you've been all over the place. You've been on Oprah. You've been on Katie Couric. You're probably one of the premier numerologists and astronumerologists in the country. You're the author of a best-selling book, Numbers and You. I want to talk to you, and we're going to go live to the studio audience. If you're a viewer, you can call the show right now. They're going to flash the number on the screen, and you're going to get the dynamic duo of Z Starman and Lloyd Strayhorn. But Lloyd, what got you into numerology, per se? How did it start?
Actually, I was into astrology, and I would do a person's chart, and as you know, as astrologers, we need to know the exact time you're born. So a person may say, well, I'm born 7:50 in the morning. I do the chart, bring it to them, they look at it and find they were born 7:50 p.m., which, you know, changes the whole configuration of it. And then what do you do for people who are not sure or don't know? People I noticed that were born in the South and in the Caribbean, normally there were questions about the birthday. They would say, my mom said I was born on this day, but my birth certificate says I was born on that day. My attitude is using common sense. If a woman, knowing the nature of women who have children, unless that's her 15th child where things get a little fuzzy or hazy, I would say a mother always knows when she gave birth to a child. So I would always go with what the mother says if that's the first or second or third child, per se. So it's those kinds of things. But I found with numerology, I did not have to go through all of that, and that my readings were just as accurate as if I took all of the astrological data.
That's interesting because I'm the oldest of 9, and as I said earlier to our studio audience, I'm the oldest of 9. My mother knew all of our birth times. She knew every one of our birth times, and sometimes I ask my clients, ask your mother. Because Mama knows. If Mama don't know, nobody knows.
Exactly.
And speaking of women, you mentioned earlier to our studio audience before the show started that this is the year of the woman.
Well, actually, this is the age of woman. I wrote an article back in the late 1970s called The Rise of the Black Woman at that time. And I was explaining that as we were approaching the 21st century, or 2000, and the number 1 represents the masculine principle, but the number 2 represents the feminine principle. And since we're now in the 21st century, or the period of 2000, this explains to me why women are doing all the things that was a given that a man used to do. One of my first clients here in New York City, or one of my clients here in New York City, she was one of the first to drive. She was a motorman on the subway.
Wow.
And she said that when she would come into the station, people wouldn't even get on the train because she was driving it.
Really? Well, my Aunt Molly, she was one of the first woman cab drivers. Taxi cab drivers. She had a medallion way back in the 1960s.
Yeah. So women. So this whole thing of James Brown, this is a man's world. to a degree it is, but women are more powerful than ever. And as I explained to my girls, without women, we don't exist.
Exactly.
And you would think that alone, we would treat women a little bit better.
Now, why, I've been listening to you for, as I said, since I was a little kid.
Me too.
And you was basically known as a numerologist.
Right.
How did you incorporate, I know you mentioned that you were an astrologer first, but how did you incorporate the two together?
Well, what I did was I took the best of the astrology and then incorporated numerology into it. So a person doesn't become just a Gemini to me anymore. A person becomes a Gemini one person.
And you were one of the first people that I've ever heard include the astrology and numerology.
Yeah, so that makes people comfortable. Some people are very comfortable with astrology. And it's interesting, Z-Man, because even skeptics who say they don't believe in this, if I ask them the question, what's your zodiac sign, they can tell me, which I think is interesting. So for somebody who doesn't believe in it, but they will know these things. So it was just a matter of bringing things that were familiar with a person and then incorporating it with the use of numbers too. So it modifies it.
Now you had some interesting correlations with presidents, with Woodrow Wilson.
Oh yes,
and,
yes.
And also our President Barack Obama. What are some of those correlations?
Well, there's some presidents for whatever reason that tend to match. For example, Woodrow Wilson was the 28th president, but he was also born on the 28th of December. William Henry Harrison was the 9th president, and he was also born on February the 9th. And there are a couple other presidents. I think Ulysses S. Grant was the 27th, and he was born on the 27th. But in the case of President Obama, what's interesting about him, he is born on the 4th of August of 1961, which means he's an 8, a 4, and an 8, because 1961 adds to 17, and 1 plus 7 is 8.
Right.
So 4s and 8s, I was explaining, would always be important in his life. And what happens is when he won the election, he won it on the 4th of November, and of course he's the 4th, and he became the 44th president of the United States.
Now speak about his life path number, his destiny number. That's an 11, isn't that so?
Well, what happens is the destiny number, for those who may not be familiar as we are, comes from adding the person's month, day, and year of birth. And so when you factor those out, it would be 11/2. And it's interesting, his wife has the same destiny number as he does, and so does his daughter.
Which one, Malia or Sasha?
Sasha, the oldest one.
Now Sasha she's the youngest one.
Oh, that's right. Malia's the oldest one.
She's born on July 4th. And
yes.
Sasha, I know.
She's a Gemini 1 like you.
Right. We have the same birthday.
Yeah, yeah.
Lloyd, we have a call already.
Oh, okay.
I know they're burning up the phone lines. If you want to talk to us here at Astrology Numerology Now, give us a call, 212-757.